Next speaker for today. So Ninja, if you can put up the appropriate slide for His Excellency Senior Rabbi Dr. Elie Abadie. Our next speaker is, as I said earlier, someone who holds me accountable. I do believe that every person in this room needs accountability. We think we can do it on our own. You can't. It doesn't matter what you're dealing with, personal life, professional life, having that one mentor that you can go to that is judgment-free. I repeat, judgment-free. That doesn't mean it probably won't hurt your feelings when they give you their feedback. As Dr. Abadie has told me many times, things I don't want to hear, but I need to. He reminds me that we are not perfect. He reminds me, however, that memories are lessons. Dr. Elie Abadie is not someone who likes to brag about himself, so I will brag for him. He has truly one of the most beautiful families that I have ever met in the world. You took me into your home in Dubai. I broke bread with each and every member of your family in the community. I call you my rabbi for a reason, sir. You are someone who is remarkable. We have traveled to some unique destinations. He also memorized the Torah word for word. True story. He won a competition, and I think I might tell you a minute or two about that. But he is a mastermind. He's an acclaimed physician on top of being the rabbi's rabbi. He also helped put together and broker the Abraham Accord. With that, I would like to bring up a very dear friend of mine, His Excellency, Senior Rabbi, Dr. Elie Abadie. Sir.
Thank you very much, my dear friend Dustin. It has been several years now that we know each other for deeply. We know each other very well. Thank you, and it's a pleasure for me to be here with you this morning. I'm going to speak this morning what Dustin asked me to speak about, and that is the senior rabbi role in society, specifically in the Middle East and the Gulf, where I was the senior rabbi of the United Arab Emirates and of the Association of Gulf Communities. So first, let me give you a background about myself. I originate from Spain over 500-600 years ago, where my ancestors really lived. And I come from a long chains of rabbis. Every generation, sometimes it skips a generation of Rabbi Abadies, somewhere between Spain and all the way to the Ottoman Empire, southern France and Catalonia, southern France, Provence, Italy, Yugoslavia, what it was Yugoslavia, and Greece, and then the Salonique, and then the Ottoman Empire. Eventually, my family, over 200 years, went through Spain, all the way southern Europe, all the way to the Ottoman Empire, and eventually in the 1800s, they ended up in Aleppo, Syria, where my parents were born. And they were living not a bad life until the 1947, the 29th of November decision of the General Assembly to establish a Jewish home, a state of Israel. And so, of course, in 10 Arab countries, unfortunately, they rose against the Jewish communities, going from Morocco all the way to Iraq. Syria was one of them, and my parents had to escape for their life to Lebanon, which at that time was the Switzerland of the Middle East. So they lived there from then. For 22 years, I was born there, and life was not bad, was tranquil until Black September, where there was a civil war in Jordan, and the PLO was expelled from there. It was forced into Lebanon, so they went there, and once the PLO was there, the entire Lebanon community understood that Lebanon's end is coming very soon. And so, of course, the Jewish community felt very, very uncomfortable and very threatened. And in fact, there were attacks against the Jewish community to the point in which my parents said it's time for us to move. And so we left Lebanon in 1971, and we moved to Mexico City, where my father's sisters lived there from the 1940s after they escaped Syria. And we settled in Mexico City. Mexico City, I grew up. It was a wonderful life. And then I decided, in fact, I had decided since I was 5-6 years old that I really wanted to become a doctor, not a rabbi. And so I was accepted to the universities in Mexico, then realizing that as a Jew, I cannot violate my Sabbath and the tests and the laboratories were all on the Sabbath. I said I could not do that. I'm not compromising. And I found a university in New York known as Yeshiva University, which is a Jewish university that you can become a doctor, a lawyer, an entrepreneur, anything you want without violating the Sabbath or any Jewish holiday. So I came to New York, went to that university, and the rest is history. Once I was in that university, my father was a rabbi in Lebanon and in Mexico. It was suggested to me that maybe I should also become a rabbi in addition of being a doctor, and that's what it was. So my journey really to the Gulf, to the United Arab Emirates, dates back from 2010. 2010, I was leading a legacy trip to Spain to discover the Sephardic heritage in Spain. And one of the participants, a businessman, I was speaking about the Abrahamic religions, the convivencia that existed in Spain for several hundreds of years, where Jews, Christians, and Muslims lived in harmony, in coexistence and peace and tranquility. And so this gentleman said, "That's fascinating what you're saying, Rabbi Abadie." He says, "There is a country in the Gulf that one recreate that convivencia, and that's the United Arab Emirates. And I would like their leaders to meet you." He has been doing business there for over 20 years. I said, "With pleasure, please fly me there. I'll be more than happy to meet them." I said, "No, maybe when they come to New York, you will meet them." I said, "Fine." And so from 2010 to 2019, as their officers would come, their sheikhs would come to New York, I would meet them and would converse and we would speak, and I would show them many religious books written in Arabic, Jewish religious books written in Arabic that I have as a heirloom in my family. They were fascinated. So we spoke with them about the Abraham Accords and we discussed about it. And then this same gentleman, the businessman, said, "I would like you, Rabbi, to bring me a Torah scroll, and I want to take it to Dubai, actually to Abu Dhabi, and present it to the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed, MBZ, in memory of his father, Sheikh Zayed." I said, "By all means," and we did that. And we brought it to let's see, I have to point there. Oh, that's Spain. And here it is. This is when we presented the Torah scroll. As you see, it's standing behind me. I'm here with MBZ, Mohammed bin Zayed, and it was a really incredible, this is the dedication of the Torah scroll to Sheikh Zayed. And we had a really great conversation, that's again with him. And this is, he's standing next to me to the Torah scroll, and I explained to him that the Torah scroll, the scroll itself is relatively new, but what's written in it is 3,348 years old. And I told him that over those 3,348 years old, not a single letter of that Torah scroll has been changed. If you take a Torah scroll from Yemen or a Torah scroll from Russia, communities that for thousands of years they were not in touch, nothing has changed. The same letters everywhere. In fact, the same construct of the column. And so Mohammed bin Zayed, His Highness, said, "This is truly incredible. Now I understand," he said, "the strength of the Abrahamic religion is consistency. And that Abrahamic religion really all are based in the Torah, in the Bible, that was given to the Christians and then was given also to the Muslim." And so from then on, he asked me to become, as the Abraham Accords were being signed, to become the senior rabbi of the United Arab Emirates, to build up a Jewish community and to have a Jewish presence. And that's what we did. Now, let me just go to the next thing, as we're going to speak about the evolution of rabbinical leadership. So, what are the rabbis? Really, if we go through history, Moses, we can say, was the first rabbi in history. And the transmission of the mantle of leadership, of religious leadership, was given from Moses to Joshua, from Joshua to the prophets, from the prophets to the sages, from the sages to the elders to what were known as the rabbis. And that transmission is done in a physical manner, where the leader places his hands on the head of the next generation leader, and says, I anoint you as the future rabbi or the future leader. And that's what Moses did in the Bible to Joshua, and that's what Joshua did for the next generation up until my generation and the future generation. When I studied in the seminary, that was done. That was known as semicha. Semicha means placing one's hand, and that's basically is what the ordination. Now, what is the historical role of rabbis over the ages? So we have, for example, Maimonides. Maimonides was the known famous rabbi, philosopher, physician. I emulated my life based on his, a diplomat, physician to the court. But they were also, rabbis were also leaders, community leaders. And community leaders meaning they always were representative to the crown or the government or the caliph at that time. They were representative to the government of whatever country they were. But they were also judges and adjudicators of civil and religious matters to their community. And they were the ultimate judges in a sense. Usually in every community there was 3 rabbis which they make the beddin, the court, the religious court. One of them is the head of it. They were advocates for the community towards the government, either the local governments, the state government, or the federal government, no matter whatever, and whatever, throughout history in whatever country. Either it was the king, the viceroy, the emir, or the sheikh. Interestingly enough, they were also advocates for the community. Interestingly enough, they were also adjudicators of Arab and Muslim business disputes. Many in the locals, they would come to the rabbi because they trusted the rabbi that will not have any interest. They say if they would go to their imams, the imam might be related to the other side, or his family, or the same tribe, or the same clan. So they would come to the rabbi because they felt the rabbi has no interest in that dispute, and so therefore they will go to a rabbi for that adjudication. Of course, there are key historical events that may have shaped rabbinical duties. The rabbis, as I said, as leaders of communities, they had some time to intervene on behalf of the community, as they always did, and especially when it came to situations of danger. For example, when the Almohads invaded Spain and all of North Africa. The Almohads is what today is ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Right? Very extremist jihadist groups that invaded all of North Africa and Spain. And of course, there was danger not just to the Jews, but to the Christian and to the moderate Muslims that lived there. And so Maimonides had to make a decision for the community that they had to leave Spain and they had to hide in places where they cannot be seen. In fact, he said that you could go and pray in mosques, right, to protect your life, because mosque is a monotheistic place and there should not be a problem. So he was that leader that did so. Also, we have another, this is another Maimonides statue in Cordoba. The next one is Don Yitzhak Abarbanel, who in the late 1400s, during the expulsion from Spain, he was also the leader who really negotiated with Queen Isabel and King Ferdinand the exit of the Jews from Spain. It was more of an expulsion than an exit, but he was the one who was able to negotiate that and represent the community. Then unfortunately also during the time of the Holocaust, many of the rabbis had to see that their communities are able to live safely. Now, in the last 30 years of my life, if not more, I have been engaged in many interfaith summits. This one was in Baku, that we had the Interfaith Summit in Baku. Then this one was in Sri Lanka. Especially when I was in New York, I participated in many interfaith summits, local, state, federal, presidential prayers, government prayers, all with one goal, to get together, to bring together humans of different religions, to seek peace, to seek coexistence, to speak to each other, to learn of each other and about each other, because that's the only way that we could have peace amongst all of us. So I participated in the G20 Interfaith Summit, and Dubai Interfaith Summit, the Dubai Expo Summit, and many of those summits. Even in Israel, I was named as the Druze Ambassador of Peace and also for the Bedouin Council, all with one goal in mind, to teach humanity that we are all the children of one God. And as children of one God, we have to act as brothers and sisters should not fight. Maybe we fight when we are children. Once we go, we are mature, we should not fight. We should love each other, we should support each other, and we should be there for each other. Specifically, my interest was always in my academic career also was bringing together the three Abrahamic religions, Muslim, Jews, and Christians together. And why so? Because for 4,000 years, the first Abrahamic religion, the Bible, was written by God and Moses and all the subsequent prophets. Then over 1,300 years later, the New Testament was written by the evangelists, and then 600 years later, the Quran compiled by the first Caliph Abu Bakr. Now, these religions have continued to write the history of civilization until today, where these religions count on devotees that comprise almost half of humanity. And so the Abrahamic religions gave really birth to the Abraham Accords. That's why the Abraham Accords are called like that, between Israel and the Arab world. And many of those summits that I had, to get together, we have to know each other. Now, coming from an Arab country, from an Arab culture, I know Arabic songs, Arabic cuisine, Arabic tradition. And so in many of those interfaiths, sometimes you face imams or other religious leaders that may have some certain, if not animosity, but certain defensive attitude towards you because they haven't met you in decades and all what they hear. And so when we sat in one of those with my colleagues, the imams, I put Arabic music. And so they started dancing. And I took the microphone and I started singing those Arabic classical songs that they loved. And I started dancing with them. And that broke the ice. And from then on, we were brothers and sisters. They should see that we are equal to each other. We know each other and we love each other. Another story that happens, I was invited by His Excellency Sheikh Mohammed Al-Isa, who used to be the Justice Minister of Saudi Arabia, and presently he is the Secretary General of the Muslim World League. We are very good friends. He invited me to a Sri Lanka Congress of Interfaith, and so I was his guest. He hired Christian tour guides to take me to see Buddhist and Hindu temples. So imagine a Muslim inviting a Jew to be taken by a Christian to see Hindu and Buddhist temples. And that is really what typifies what interfaith is, to know each other, to mingle with each other, to respect each other, and ultimately to really love and live with each other. Rabbis, as any other religious leaders, have the importance of seeking peace, of seeking social justice, of getting people together. Yes, theologically we may have our differences, but those differences are for our individual faith and belief. But socially, we should not have differences. We are all, as I said, children of one God, and brothers and sisters ought to live together. And so that's the role of any religious leader, not just rabbis, but pastors, imams, priests, so on and so forth, is to get humanity together, to understand we are all made out of flesh and blood. We all have the same organs. At the end of the day, we were all come from one human being, Adam and Eve, that couple. And so with the different colors, with the different physiognomy, with the way we look, but we are all from the same source. And because of that, we ought to live in peace, tranquility, loving each other. And I would say the word tolerance, I don't like it that much, because when you tolerate something, somehow I'll tolerate it. No, the idea is coexistence, acceptance, and living together. So to conclude, the main points basically is, as human beings, as the children of one God, we ought to find our way. Not all of us are rabbis, not all of us are entrepreneurs, but in whatever we do in our life is to find that side that we can get together, be together, learn from each other, respect each other, and leave a better world for the next generation, that the world that it was left for us. Thank you very much.
Rabbi Abadie, thank you again. Knowledge is power. That's yours. I want you to have it. Thank you very much.